Hi, my name is Dr. Forrester Dean. I'm a chiropractor, physiotherapist, primary care physician, sports and family doctor in Manhattan Beach, California. I teach tennis and yoga rehab, specialize in chronic pain. Um, I, I recorded my intro video this morning, and I thought something was missing. I need to tell you about me. I need to tell you what happened to me in my journey to get to you to here today. I went to school later in life to become a doctor. I was a personal trainer for many years, and the piece that was missing for me was legally I couldn't diagnose or treat pain or dysfunction. Trainers are really only supposed to instruct exercise, although I know they do occasionally do more, but I wanted to be able to legally help people. So I made the big jump, and honestly, it's a huge amount of work. It took me about 6 or 7 years, and something happened while I was in school. I developed back pain, first occasional, and then it got worse while I was in class, sometimes sitting in class 4, 6, 8 hours a day, driving usually over an hour to and from school, so it's a lot of sitting. But I'm also very active. I do a lot of sports. I like to exercise and move, so I couldn't understand why I was getting back pain. I didn't have insurance, and I also used the excuse I didn't have time to go to the doctor because it takes forever to get an appointment. And then you have to wait and wait and wait. And then, even though you go, it's forever until they give you something that works, if that even happens. So it got to the point where I couldn't put on my shoes, lace up my shoes. I couldn't put on a pair of underwear. I couldn't put my arm through a sleeve. I couldn't get in and out of my car. I had to stop exercising. I couldn't go to yoga. I couldn't go to spin class. Everything hurt, horribly hurt. And it just got worse and worse. And I still didn't have insurance. So I just took a lot of ibuprofen, and I just, said, just figure it out. Just put up with it. And then I started to get discouraged. I started to get depressed. I wondered if this was ever going to change. And then one day in class, I had a heart attack. And then I really started to lose hope. And I felt like nobody cared, and there's nothing I could do. Fortunately, I did get insurance, and I went to my doctor's appointment. It was a doctor I didn't know, and it was a man. He was over an hour late. I gave him the 14 pages of paperwork that they require with my information. Didn't even look at it. And I said, it's all here. And he said, we just scan that and put it in your electronic records. We don't read that. Never examined me, never looked at my back, never took off my shirt, never looked at it to see if there was a knife sticking out of my back. Nothing. 3 minutes and 14 seconds. I got billed for a full 40-minute exam on my insurance, a mental exam, a depression intervention, a nutritional intervention, an anorexia intervention. I was charged for blood work. And none of this happened. And it's only because afterwards I wanted to look and see my bill. Like, okay, I want to see this is like my first doctor bill ever. And I want to see what it looks like. What did I get coded for? And it was like $2,100 worth of services in 3 minutes and 14 seconds. And he was billing for things he didn't even do. So he said, well, we're going to take an x-ray. And I said, well, what are you going to see on an x-ray? Oh, I don't know. I don't know how to read an x-ray. And I said, well, then how are we going to know anything from the x-ray? He said, oh, somebody else will read that. And I said, but the other person doesn't know who I am. They don't know I'm active. They don't know how I live. They don't know my values. They don't know anything about me. And they're going to look at an x-ray and be able to tell me my life story about what's wrong with my back. That seems crazy. So they took the x-ray and he looked at it and got sent back to my doctor, and the doctor said, oh, you have degeneration in your spine. And I said, what does that mean? He said, it's exactly what I said. It's degenerating. And I said, well, what does that mean to somebody like me? You know, I'm just going to have to send you for a surgical consult. And I said, but I don't want surgery. And he said, look, that's all I have. I'm going to prescribe you an anti-inflammatory and a painkiller today. Well, am I inflamed? Is that on the x-ray? He said, no, but a lot of people with pain have inflammation. And I said, well, why would I have inflammation? Where does that come from? He said, look, I don't have time for this. And I said, no, I'm not taking a painkiller because I have to be able to drive to work and I have to be able to concentrate in school. And I'm worried about addiction. He's like, all right, just go to and he was rude. Just go to the consult. So that was a month later, I finally got in to see the surgeon. 3 minutes and 40 seconds. I timed it. Never looked at my back. He said, bend over and touch your toes. Oh, well, I couldn't. Oh, okay, well, let's give you, we're going to x-ray you. I said I already had an x-ray. Oh, okay, well, I'll have to go look through your file and I don't have time for that, so we're going to do it again. And I said, oh, well, is there a worry for like too much x-ray exposure? He's like, what are you talking about? And I said, well, x-rays are dangerous. They're not benign. It's radiation. Oh, okay, well, we're going to do it anyway. All right, so look, I've got people waiting. So they took the x-ray. What's on there? What do you see? Oh, I don't know. I don't know how to read an x-ray. Oh. So I said, I could read it. I know how. This is while I was still in school. How do you know how to do that? I said, because I'm in chiropractic school, learning to be a chiropractic doctor. And he said, they teach you how to read an x-ray? And I said, yeah, and MRI and to some extent ultrasounds, other special imaging. Yeah. Oh, what's chiropractic? Is that like a weekend course? So I was like, calm down, calm down. No, it's actually 400 hours more than a medical equivalent. It's more, because we learn more things, like how to read an x-ray and an MRI. He's like, oh, okay, well, whatever. I'm going to order an MRI. And then we'll look at that. So this whole time, I'm just pushing my treatment. I never got treated. He said, well, okay, until the MRI time comes, well, I'm going to prescribe you an epidural. Well, I did a bunch of research on epidural already. Perfect timing. Now I'm going to use what I know. Okay, what's that? What do you mean? What's an epidural? I was like, let's just see what he says. Oh, it's a shot. Does it go in my arm? I don't know. I don't understand. He said, no, it goes in your back. Into what? Into your spinal cord. And I said, oh, I definitely don't want that. What does it do? Well, it can relieve pain. It can, or it does, or will. Well, it can. And how many people out of 100 does it work? Oh, I don't know. What if I told you it was less than 1%? And that means out of every 101 people you prescribe an epidural for, that you get to bill for, it works on one person. And what are the risks? So do you see what I'm getting at? Like, this doctor thinks I'm stupid, and I'm just going to do what he says because he's God and he's always right, and they never do anything wrong, and they're just trying to get me out of his office. You know, what kind of like big fancy language can he use? He's like, oh, you might have ankylosing spondylitis. And I said, okay, what's that? Oh, well, you need to go get a blood test for that. And I was like, oh my God, does this ever end? So I need to tell you the story about me because I get how bad it is from the patient side. And I saw it for myself for the first time, believe it or not. But I had this awareness because I know what I'm being taught. I'm being educated how to be, honestly, the world's best doctor. And I turned out pretty great, I think, as a doctor. But what I knew was I knew his backstory. I knew the doctor's backstory. I know what they're supposed to ask. I know what they're supposed to be educating me on. I know that they're supposed to be using plain language. I know they're supposed to be being kind and optimistic and setting a good example. And these two doctors did neither. So in the meantime, while I'm in finishing up my school, I start a project for myself. In the last 3 years, I spent about 1,200 hours of my personal time digging into all this research, looking into what works and what doesn't work, looking for honestly, like a holy grail, trying to understand what pain is and what it isn't. And I found something in all of that. I discovered some disconnected, different pieces of science that I started to knit together into a treatment plan. And I used it on myself, and it worked. The very first time, I was out of pain in about 5 minutes. And now I can play tennis and hike and bike and do yoga. I can do the splits, not bragging. I don't have any limitations at all. None. And everyone that I've used this treatment plan on it's really worked very, very well. Most of the time it works in right away. And it's not anything I made up. I just took different pieces of information together and thought, what could this do? This sounds promising. So everything I do is what's available in every doctor's office. Every doctor can do this. Any doctor can do this. If they, I'd be happy to teach them. I put all of my research into a presentation. It's a 535 slide PowerPoint. And I'm looking for a place to teach it in front of doctors. I think it's probably 20 or 30 hours worth of lecture and demonstration. But I wanted to let you know that the reason I came up with the Better Patient Solutions website, the Patient Advocate website, is because I was one of those people. I was one of those patients that my values didn't matter, and I just got stuck in the system, and I was not getting better, and I was getting discouraged, and it was causing me to then become depressed and physically sick. And I got out of it. And I am so happy to share what I learned with all of you out there. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon.